Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, it's your first time listening to the Win with Dice podcast. It's a podcast all about tabletop RPGs. Calvin and I like a casual person of the hobby, so we like to talk about the games that we run and the games that we play in, and the cool, wonderful people we get to experience hobby with. So, if this is your first introduction to tabletop RPGs, dude, go find yourself a table and go have some fun. And if you are a player at someone's table, maybe it's your turn to jump behind the GM screen.
Indeed. So this week, we're going to get into all the fun stuff that Paizo was talking about at GenCon this year. There were a bunch of things that were announced, some things that got more details after mentions at PaizoCon earlier this year. So we're going to talk about a bunch of those and just go over what's going to be coming up for Pathfinder and Starfinder in the next couple of years. But before we get into all that fun stuff, we have to get to the most important part of the show, the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week.
Yes, Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week, brought to you by, I guess it was brought to you by Matt Koval.
Yeah, every time there's a new Koval video out, we quickly swoop in and yoink his knowledge for our Tip of the Week.
Well, I mean, he does talk pretty honestly about stuff, so yeah. It's cool to kind of say it and add our 2 cents in. But yeah, I think it's really good, and he said like the quiet part out loud in this one. It's
good advice is good advice.
Yeah. But it was all about characters and character creation and how you can create a good character or be a good player, I think it was. But basically, if you're a player in someone's game, you have to like your character, the GM has to like your character, and the table has to like your character. You got to remember that. It's not all about you, it's about, the experience with everybody. And as well as, like he mentioned, when you build your character, it's fun to have an idea, but you should really be building your character for the system that you're playing, not just I want to play Wolverine, so how do I do that? Because whatever you do, whatever your expectations is, it's going to be not what you want, and trying to shoehorn stuff in and kind of do all that stuff could take away from the experience. I mean, I'm definitely a GM who allows players a lot of liberty, especially if I like it, but if I don't like it, I'll probably say no. So if you gotta pitch it really well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's I think it's a really good point to build from the system out. I know I will come in with some ideas and then try to figure out how to make it work in the system, but I can see obviously where there would be trouble with that, because in many cases you're not going to get exactly what you want out of there, or you're going to have to make some sort of compromise, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. I will probably more advocate for homebrewing stuff in, but I think it is a good point to at least look at the options the system gives you, even if they're some of the more obscure ones that you have to communicate with whoever is running your game, if that's the type of game that you're in. And yeah, just kind of build something from the options the system gives. But yeah, I think the more important thing is just you're making a collaborative story here. You want to create something that everybody at the table will enjoy, because they hopefully will be doing the same.
Exactly. And you're trying to fit your character in the world, right? And as well as you gotta kind of keep it towards theme a little bit. I mean, it's always cool to have odd man out and stuff like that, but if you're, I guess, causing problems for the table in sense of you're not being an asshole, but really you're just kind of we're all playing humans, but you're the only weird alien, and then this is the place where all aliens get arrested, so now it's the GM has to, or the players has to deal with all that stuff, which could be fun, but also you could just not cause all that problem and make the story kind of warp around your character. You gotta share the screen time, right? So be cognizant of that.
Yeah, I think it's a thing that would probably be solved with a session 0 or just any sort of discussion pre-game when it comes to the kind of character you want to make, which is another point of something the GM would like, some of the other players would like.
Yeah, just a little group chat. Remember, you're a part of the band, right? You all gotta groove together. So
that's actually a really good metaphor.
No, seriously,
treating RPGs as a band, yeah.
Totally stolen from Matt Koval what he said. He's right. He's so right.
We've done 100 tips. We can steal a couple. But I like that metaphor. You're all trying to make something together, So you have to work together for that to work out.
Exactly. And like it's honestly, if you make a character that everybody is interested in, like it makes everyone's turns better because you're cool. You want to see what they do, right? So everybody, as a player myself, I always try and fall in love with everybody else's character because like, hey, it may not be my turn, but I'm excited to see what the fuck they're doing, right? Like, so.
Yeah, exactly. I think I probably said this a bunch of times. I don't remember where I got it from, but some of the best player advice I got was being a fan of other people's characters. And comboing with this, just making a character that other people can be a fan of.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just like, you can celebrate in everyone's victories and in everyone's tragedies as well. So, it's always a good thing. But yeah, there you go, folks. There's your tip of the week. Just remember that you are a player, a part of the table. And, if you want to make a cool character, run it by your gym, run it by your players. Try and find that area where, you can supplement the team. And, think of yourselves as like a band, a group. They're just grooving. You got to groove.
Exactly. All right, let's hop into today's topic. So, GenCon happened very recently at the beginning of August. By the time you're hearing this, it would have been like a week after. A lot of stuff was going on, but on here, we do like to talk about Pathfinder a lot. Y'all know how much I love Starfinder. I'm very excited to talk about those two things because I'm really excited to get into Starfinder 2nd Edition. We were kind of hoping to get into it this week, but there's a lot of news to cover, so probably going to be next week where we dive into that. But let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about the recent Gen Con live stream that went on with Paizo. Just sort of covering everything going on there. I'll provide a Twitch link to it below if you're on YouTube. As well, I want to mention that when I was writing my notes, I also referred to the Paizo write-up done by The Magic Sword, who is on Reddit and Twitter. I'll provide a link below to the American Library Association, which they often link to in these write-ups. But now, let's get into Paizo at Gen Con 2024. So we started off the live stream with Eric Mona, the Chief Creative Officer at Paizo, just describing all the games and events going on, everything happening at Gen Con, the games that were being run and everything, mentioning, of course, that the Starfinder playtest book is available now, mentioning that there is a discount code that I'm not sure if it's still active, but the discount code GenCon 2024 for 20% off. Which I took advantage of on the Paizo website. There is a Humble Bundle going on, and if that is still active by Wednesday, I will also link that below on YouTube. I took advantage of those deals and got quite a bit of stuff, so I want to make sure people have access to them if they're still available. But we started off talking about Starfinder 2nd Edition with Thurston Hillman, Managing Creative Director for Starfinder, and Jenny Jarzabski, Senior Developer for Starfinder, and Mech Fan, which I really appreciate. So the playtest itself is available at starfinderplaytest.com. Again, I'm going to be linking everything below. There is a free PDF of it available, or you can purchase a hard copy for, I don't have the price on hand, but I will obviously link to the page again. So what was released just recently is, of course, this Starfinder 2nd Edition playtest book, as well as a couple of scenarios and one adventure. The adventure itself is a cosmic birthday, which starts at first level, features the planet Octurne, which is a strange planet full of cultists that in 1st edition was kind of hinted at being like an egg for something larger. And in fact, one of the major events at the start of 2nd edition is that egg hatching, destroying this planet. And the players have to deal with the consequences of that. Mm-hmm. It creates this new entity called the Newborn, which will appear in the solar system and start having strange effects on the Pack Worlds system. So this is going to be like the start of new stories in this setting.
Groovy.
The scenarios, or the society scenarios that were put out, are Shards of the Glass Planet, a first level scenario that I actually recently ran over the weekend, had a lot of fun with. It's got some very interesting alien designs, I have to say. And the other one is It Came from the Vast, which is a 5th level scenario. In addition, later this year, I believe in fall, there's going to be more adventures and scenarios put out. Specifically, the one that I'm most interested in at the moment is Empires Devoured, which is a 10th level adventure releasing in October, and it features the Azlanti Star Empire in a war against the Veskarium. The Veskarium we saw plenty of in first edition, but the Azlanti Empire, I feel like we didn't really see as much of that as I would have liked, because I would have liked to run something there, which I think I mentioned before. So I'm kind of looking forward to this, especially with it being Starfinder 2e, because I think I could run something interesting in there. I want to do like a whole Star Wars thing, just with the Azlanti Empire.
Yeah, I know. Get your laser sabers out, dog.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I would love to see an Azlanti setting book instead of everything kind of like scattered all over different books.
Yeah, fair. But that's what keeps them mysterious, right?
True. I mean, I could just do whatever if I wanted to do something. That book will also introduce a new Azlanti faction called the Sahedron Guard, which has ties to Pathfinder. I think it has ties to the Rune Lord's adventure, but since I'm playing it for the first time with you, I didn't want to get into too many details with that. Yeah,
I don't think you even know. You should know what a Sahedron is at this moment, so... I don't know sorry, you said the Sahedron Guard or something?
Yeah, the Sahedron Guard.
Wow, the Sahedron Guard. They're guarding the Sahedron. Oh, okay, cool.
Is it a thing? I thought it was just a symbol. I mean, I'll find out, I guess.
Yes. I don't know. Well, I don't even know, Calvin. I didn't even read the book all the way.
Fair enough. So there are some pre-gen characters for it, of course. The iconic characters of the classes that are currently available in the playtest, which isn't all the classes. There's going to be the Technomancer and Mechanic will be released early next year. But yeah, there's 6 pre-gens. They're at level 1 and level 5. But the plan is to introduce or to release Starfinder Player Core in 2025. That'll be followed by GM Core, which is similar to what we've seen with Pathfinder GM Core, and Alien Core, which is like the monster core for Starfinder. As well, they will be releasing the Starfinder Galaxy Guide, which is sort of like the Pathfinder World Guide, but now we have a whole galaxy to deal with.
Ooh, I like Galaxy Guide. That's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. It's very cool. And that'll be out in May 2025. And it may hint at some certain plot things that are upcoming. It'll introduce some faction archetypes for your characters, like the Hell Knights and the Xeno Wardens. It'll have some ancestries that you can use as well, which, again, Starfinder First Edition had a lot of different aliens you could play as, so I hope you get as many of those as possible. You'll have your Astrozoans, which are like starfish aliens that can shapeshift into humanoid forms. You'll have your Dragonkin, which the art for them was done by Kent Hamilton, who recently did the Pathfinder Dragon art for the Monster Core book. But it'll also like let you be related to different kinds of dragons, like the ones introduced in Monster Core, as well as some new ones like the Techno Dragonkin, which sounds really cool, and I hope we also get a Techno Dragon.
I would assume so. It's just boops and beeps. That's what he actually is. It's just straight lasers, but only for dance. Like that's.
Ooh, I would love a laser dragon.
Yeah, just DJ Techno Dragon. Like that's actually would be the funniest boss fight where he's just at Dragon. The club. Yeah, he's just at like a concert or whatever, and like you have to fight him. But like, his beats are too good, and he's just like, the crowd is too hype.
Foolish mortals, you can't handle beat drops of this magnitude.
Yeah, I know, right?
That'd be kind of baller, actually. Like this giant DJ.
Yeah, I know.
It's like these flying saucers as the records, and he's just scratching them.
Yeah, that'd be so good. Yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to do that now.
He's just stealing and kidnapping pop stars because they need to be featured on his tracks, and they just like they're all just like you got to put the song, man, and like he's just sitting there like.
My God, the dragon horde is pop stars.
Yeah, this dragon just hoards pop stars.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's gonna have to be something.
Yeah, there you go, folks. That's a free one for you. Like,
There's there's also going to be the Kalo, these aquatic aliens that I think were pretty cool. When I did run Starfinder ages ago, there were a couple of them that came up in the game that I really liked, and I didn't really get to do much with them. So yeah, it'll be cool to have them as a character option as well. And also some new designs for Vesk armor and new concept art for Vesk armor, which looks very cool. I'm definitely gonna stick the image in here, and Ramon, I'll send it to you later because it looks like it's very cool art.
Nice.
And yeah, there's more adventures coming for Starfinder 2025. There's mention of a different approach planned for adventure support. Didn't get very many details on what that means. I'm kind of assuming it means more digital support, especially given that you can get like a bundle with all the planned adventures coming out this year on Foundry. So I'm kind of thinking that's what they mean, but we'll see how things go in 2025.
Probably like that you could just bundle them all and then, they'll release them and you'll just get the next drop in a couple, whatever they get out, right, in the next couple of months. So your play group can like get staggered out. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be something like that. They did mention at Paizo GenCon, or I got the vibe that they were kind of leaning more into the digital stuff. And yeah, and as mentioned, the Technomancer and Mechanic are going to be released in a separate playtest in early 2025, but they and the other 6 available classes will be launching with the full game next year. And I think it'll be around August next year, because it's probably going to be around Gen Con.
Cool. Yeah, I think next time we do play Starfinder, I'll probably play the Vibes Man. Kind of like that idea of sending the good vibes. Keep thinking about them. So.
Oh, there's a particular thing I want to do. Oh, but I'll have to mention it later, because there's a thing that's coming in an upcoming book, and I was like, I would love that in space, but we'll get there when we get there. But then next, we're covering the major event, War of Immortals, featuring the death of Gorham. It was introduced by Michael Sayer, director of Rules and Lore. Gorham has been slain by the god of assassins, leading to major changes in the setting.
Oh man, he got killed by the god of assassins. What a chump.
Well, if anyone's gonna do it.
It's true, I guess. I guess it's thematic. Lots of assassinations have led to war. But, like, I guess he didn't, because the thing is called War of the Immortals, so I guess he's just kind of doing his thing.
Yeah, I guess
post-mortem, you know what I mean? Like,
war can still happen, it's fine, we don't need that guy. I think, last time we were talking about this, because there is a deity of war in the Starfinder setting that is more, like, related to the Vesk. But I guess the spot was open, and now we know why.
Yeah, actually, it would be kind of cool if I'm not sure if they would, because it'd be a hell of a lot of work. If like all of the major races got like their own god or gods associated with it, because like there's some,
They just might. We haven't gotten to the book yet, but they just might.
Okay, cool.
But with regards to War of Immortals specifically, it will also introduce the 2 new classes that they had the playtest for earlier, the Animist and the Exemplar. The Animist is that caster that has a bond with the spiritual entities. So like if you bond with a volcano spirit, you get like fire and earth related abilities. There's a dungeon spirit that I don't think was in the playtest, but you'll have new spells. You can create like illusions and traps, and these spirits can be switched out, giving you access to wandering feats, which are a type of feat that are like switchable basically. And then the Exemplar, which is inspired by legendary heroes. The examples given were like Hercules and Gilgamesh and Maui. And the Exemplars are like directly exposed to parts of Gorham. After Gorham is killed, there's an event called God's Rain, where some of his blood and armor rain down on Galarian. And of course, those will have significant impact wherever they land. There's new archetypes coming in the book. One for the fighter that was mentioned was the Warrior of Legend archetype. So you basically become a character like Achilles, where you have a certain weapon or type of damage that your character is like vulnerable to, but as you go on, this vulnerability can be used to enhance like other abilities.
Oh, I see. So you can like be invulnerable or like something like that. But if you get critted or something with like a sword, you explode. Like
Yeah, like the way it's pretty much the way it was described is that your character has a doom, but at higher levels, that doom can enhance your other abilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a new like addition onto a fighter, a little bit more epic. I think everything is just kind of more epic right now.
Yeah, and I like every time they talked about a new book, they kept mentioning like different archetypes and stuff, which even though I don't think we usually lean into a lot in our games, I guess they are pretty popular, especially in the community, because I think every time there was a book, they always like specifically mentioned new archetypes.
I'm always surprised that you guys don't. I think there is like a lot of options in Pathfinder, so
True.
And we don't actually play enough to for people to get like, I guess, bored with the not bored, but like used to all the stuff that's kind of in the core rulebook.
Yeah. What we need is a weekly game.
Exactly right. We do. But we pull in a lot for very specific characters. We try our best to find something in like all of the other books, like Rage of Elements, right? Rage of Elements been like a blessing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of cool stuff has been drawn out of there. But archetypes are cool, and we should use it more often.
Oh, there was one. I don't know if I made a note of it, but there was one that I thought would be really good for my character that I have in our Rune Lords game that I guess I might bring up later if I remember it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's cool because like every time new archetypes come out, that's just like one extra combination in the math involved to being like, how many different types of characters could you possibly create in Pathfinder 2? And it's like a lot. Like it's a lot. You could be very different. You don't have to, if the whole parties are fighters, you could just be all sorts of different fighters. Like it's actually, I might do that. I might make that game where everybody has to be a fighter, but it's up to you to make it better, make you different from everybody else. Like,
yeah, man, single class game would be awesome.
Yeah, I want to make like a knight game where everyone's are just like knights. Like maybe some of you guys are paladins, maybe you guys are some I have to put like a bunch of restrictions on games, and then like we should do that.
I mean, I'm down. As always.
Yeah. Just you and the boys going deep to go slay a dragon, but you guys are just a bunch of dudes with swords. Like, GG.
Classic. There's also, I think we talked about this last time at Paizo GenCon, there's also mythic rules, which are being introduced in War of Immortals, that are like more narrative abilities that will affect how a character plays. Characters will have pools of mythic points to spend on mythic abilities, and they will tend to be more narrative stuff that will help you like fight like outsized creatures or to like run across water, like doing random niche stuff like that.
Oh, so you just become like an anime character. It's just like
pretty much. Yeah, I think Pathfinder is getting a lot more anime than especially with some of the new classes.
I think it's a good thing, man. Like I like the ratcheting up of every new release with like the cool names and the awesome effects and like the share cool factor that they're injecting into this game. Like,
yeah. It's like with the two games, there was two valves, and one said anime, and that got pumped into Pathfinder, and one said silly, and that got pumped into Starfinder.
Actually, yeah, it did. I think it's like wacky, because like space stuff is always pretty wacky. Like, yeah.
You gotta be wacky. But yeah, your characters can also have mythic destinies, like becoming an archfiend or an ascended celestial. Or Prophesized Monarch is one that we got a bit more details about. There's like an ability for the Prophesized Monarch that I really want more details on, but you can give a decree and it will buff your allies, but also it will affect the region that you're in and like increase the prosperity of that area. Like you'll improve local crops.
What? That's so awesome.
Which, I don't know how that'll work, but that's really cool.
you're just so fucking tied to the land, dog. You're the chosen monarch. You're the one that pulls that shit out of the sword. It's time.
Literally. So,
Oh, that's so good. Oh man, okay, now I have to like finagle. Okay, maybe I'll just make pre-gens and everyone just gets to choose which dumb knight they want to play. Get a little Arthurian quest going on around here, man.
Oh, I think this book would be perfect for that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, there's also mythic threats, like mythic monsters. I think we talked about one before, that it was like, when it dies, it can like replace itself with any random fox nearby or something like that. And then just escape.
Yeah, just long. We have to find a foxless area.
Yeah, man, you gotta think ahead. But yeah, high-level creatures like that with unique narrative abilities. And of course, the event will tie into multiple upcoming books and adventures. Mm-hmm. And some of those adventures we did hear about before, but we got some details on them again. With James Jacobs, the narrative creative director, talking about the upcoming adventures, such as Pray for Death, which is a high-level 14th to 18th level adventure, where the players are a group of Red Mantis assassins who will be present for the events of War of Immortals.
Oh, that's crazy. Their god just killed somebody important.
Yeah.
Or will be. Maybe you guys are the catalysts. Oh, who knows? Ooh, that would be so good. Actually, that'd be pretty fun. That would make sense if they wrote it that way.
I think Tim was on and he had mentioned, like when I was talking about this with him, and he had mentioned that it was probably that the players are more directly involved if the players are not the ones that actually directly kill Gorham.
Yeah, but probably just distracted him just enough for some shit like that.
Yeah, because the God of Assassins, the Red Mantis assassins are like, that's his whole thing. So, and if you're playing like 18th level adventure,
yeah, like you're his dudes. You're that's the guy. Like.
So yeah, probably could be related. And then we had mentioned before, there's Curtain Call, an 11th to 20th level adventure where your party is approached by a play director who wants to turn your adventures into like an opera story. So whatever you did from 1st to 10th level. But of course, an evil god's plans will sort of interrupt this. It's meant to be like a more fun adventure, but there's also some darker stuff going on in the background, including some War of Immortals stuff. And then Triumph of the Tusk, which takes place after War of Immortals, after some significant changes to the Orc Pantheon. The Orcs of Belkzin are trying to like rebuild and reconnect with modern Galarian society.
Oh, maybe the Orcs aren't going to be so hated. Yeah.
That seems to be the direction they're going
in. Interesting, yeah.
And then after that, we get into Lost Omens, Divine Mysteries, with Louis Loza, creative director of Pathfinder Rules and Lore. This book is coming out November 2024, and it's going to be dealing with like all the divinity and deity stuff that'll be in the setting after War of Immortals. So it'll have a lot of stuff for characters that have ties to deities, like your clerics and your champions and such, but also can introduce new stuff for character classes that aren't inherently tied to any sort of specific god or anything. Narrative stuff of like why gods would grant certain mortals power, how gods are created, and what happens if they die. Whole bunch of deep dives and illustrations for the core deities, and minority deities will get like additional details that might not have been covered before, including one that I'm very excited for, Kaldamash, a gunslinger deity. So I can finally have my gunslinger paladin.
Whoa! That's sick. Oh man, that's cool.
That's been like very high on my list of characters I want to make, but there's no deity that has firearms as like its main weapon. Right.
So then it's like, ooh, that would be so fun to do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff. They'll go over stuff that got like a mention in first edition, or newer stuff for second edition. So you got like your Imperial Lords, you got Demon Lords, you got Infernal Dukes, you got Kilputh Lords. There's deities for giants. There's deities for were creatures. A whole bunch of stuff.
Everybody gets a god.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a god. You get a god. Wow, what a rich and vibrant world full of lots of religions and deific figures.
Yeah, if you want the option, it's going to be there. There's new pantheons. So one example given is the Radiant Prism, which is a pantheon made of already existing deities, Shaylin, Sarenrae, and Desna. So they have their own group. And yeah, of course, champions and clerics get new options. Champions get oaths, which are related to stuff like smiting dragons or smiting undead and that sort of thing. Clerics have a new archetype called the Battle Harbinger, which has limited casting, but adds more martial combat and like supportive battle aura. And I thought that might be cool for my character. I'm just gonna have to look at it and think about it a bit, because if my character becomes more tied to her deity, even though she is like she's a kineticist by way of, and with some monk influence, who is a follower of Irori. And I thought it'd be cool to like do something like this, where she doesn't really cast spells, but she might have more martial stuff related to Irori. I'll have to see what the actual thing is, though.
For sure. And yeah, it would be cool, because I think that like, because deities exist for real, like there's no doubt about them in the world, more people should be religious, because it's just kind of like they're there, dude. Like it's not ambiguous. Like,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I might have to take like a Loveland cleric or something, but it's fine. I think I'll do. I do like that's something I think is interesting about this setting. That's why I like that they're making a book that's just about this, and they have a bunch of options for it, because these entities do exist, and maybe some characters will be, doing something related to them. I think because with our Rune Lords game, like a bunch of the party is involved with certain deities now, which was not intentional, but kind of just happened. Yeah, I think this book would be really good for our campaign specifically. Yeah,
for sure. I think too, because there is a bit of focus in the beginning. There is a bit of focus on deities and stuff like that. I'm not sure how it will play out later, but I mean heck, if there's gods for all sorts of creatures and stuff like that, I mean they might pop out.
Yeah, that would be cool. What else? Yeah, the domains get remastered. All the classes get new options. They basically, as it was described, for this book, they got as many deities as they could from both editions of Pathfinder, and just put everything they could in this book.
So this is the official like the source of the gods, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you need a god, we got you a god right here.
Yeah, because this is all of them. Up next, some of the stories in fiction were covered by Mike Moreland, director of brand strategy. A new book featuring the iconic Pathfinder characters and answering some questions in Pathfinder lore, specifically to do with Rovagug and what's going on with him. The book is Pathfinder God's Reign, which is releasing in November. The cover of it, which it has the characters, and they're fighting a spawn of Rovagug, who is trying to release him from his prison, which obviously...
That's not good. That's not good at all.
Yeah, I think previously it was mentioned that like they kind of avoided doing that sort of thing with these. Like the characters are meant to be more like background, or like they don't want them to take over where a player character could exist in the fiction. But now they're being given a bit more to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that book is going to be out November 5th, in hardcover, audiobook, and ebook. It's available for pre-order, which I'm mentioning because it was kind of encouraged to help restart the Pathfinder Fiction line, which has apparently been dormant since 2017.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I've heard good things from people who've read those stories and stuff like that. So,
I kind of assumed they were still existing somewhere, but yeah, I guess there haven't really been new ones published. I would love to see some Starfinder books. So,
yeah, there you go. Just yell at Paizo about getting Starfinder books. It's for Calvin.
Yeah. And then there's some digital exclusive stuff coming out September and October. Some of it is related to the iconic characters, just updating their origins and backstories for people who may not have seen them before. And then there is the God's Reign prophecies, which were like the series of blog posts that were going on the site that were like different potential prophecies of different deities dying. So there's one of like, what happens if Desna dies, or what happens if Caden dies, or what happens if Rovagug dies, or whatever. So all of those are going to be collected along with some additional material about the person who originally wrote those prophecies, because that was kind of a mystery that was left a bit unsolved when those posts were going up. And then from there, we got into Tian Xia, Lost Omens Tian Xia, I should say, with James Case, Pathfinder lead developer, and Eleanor Farron, senior developer. The Tian Xia World Guide released a few months ago, and the Tian Xia character guide will be out in August. And so Tian Xia is like their Asian fantasy-inspired setting. It's got new setting details and culture and items and creatures. This book also has new deities, including one inspired by or actually not inspired by, literally Sun Wukong.
It just is Sun Wukong. Nice.
Yeah. And then, the Tian Xia character guide, it's got a bunch of stuff. It's got 6 new ancestries. You've got the Sunagai, which is like a minotaur with like a water buffalo head attached to it. You've got a Tanuki, which I think a lot of people are going to have fun with because it's very cute. It's got some new heritages. There is, and I'm not sure I got the name of it right, but the Baku Nawa, which is an alternate heritage for lizard folk. It's related to Philippine mythology, which is this mythical creature that like was believed to eat the moon during eclipses. And apparently the Pathfinder one will have an ability that is similar to that. I don't know what that means. But you
Spooky, all right.
You can temporarily eat the moon.
I know a certain player who's going to be into that. So,
and then there's the Tsuko Mogami Poppet heritage. So it's like the Poppet, but instead of being a doll, you are like a living version of a household item, and you have unique abilities like being able to temporarily awaken other objects as well.
Wait, you just play as like an umbrella?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. My bad.
Yeah, why not?
You know, I bet that was like there's like a bunch of anime nowadays that you're just like you got reincarnated, but you're actually just like a physical object in another world, like a vending machine.
Oh, that's what this. Okay.
No, probably not. It's probably like lots of places they pull from, but it's just it is the first thing I thought about. I was like, there was one where you just that the main character is just a sword, and that would be pretty funny to play as just like a sword, like.
That would be pretty cool, actually. Okay, well, add that to the list of characters.
Yeah. I mean, that would be really cool if you could be weapons. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the anime or read the manga Soul Eater, but there's all the characters, they're in pairs, and one of them is a weapon, so they transform into the weapon. And the other one is a Meister, which is like they're the wielder of the weapon. So that would be kind of cool if it allows that kind of gameplay. Yeah, that would be fun to run like a little bit of Soul Eater type of game if it works out the way I'm imagining it.
Ron, you're gonna have like a bunch of new campaigns to run.
I know. I need to actually just make them into one shots. Like just
True.
Like just give them like a couple of stuff, make them into one shots, and then I can just satisfy my need and not get wrapped up into a forever campaign. Like,
yeah. There's new familiars and companions as well. There's a Sun de Flora, which is like a flowery armadillo kind of thing. There's a Shikigami, which is a familiar that's made of paper that is very easy to replace. It's very expendable for people who like to use their familiars as weapons. Like that particular spell where you summon your familiar and you explode it.
Ooh, that's really cool.
But like with this one, you just need to fold some paper every day and you just get it back. Although it might not be too happy about being exploded. And then there's some new archetypes as well. There's a medicine seller, which you can balance energy in your body or cleanse yourself of diseases and other effects. And this is the thing that I'm very excited about from this book, one of the archetypes is the Starlit Sentinel, which is basically very heavily inspired by magical girl anime tropes and the in-universe Zodiac.
Say more about the Sailor Moon game that's going to be happening.
See, what we need is a game where everybody has this archetype.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. Like, this shit writes itself. It's going to be so fun.
I'd be so all over that. This is the thing that I wanted. Like, if I combo that with, like, a Starfinder class, like the Envoy or something, and I'm just... Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun.
Ooh, we could play Power Rangers too if you just like, get everybody laser blasters and like have like the mech rules. You just make the Mechazoid. All right, I can't wait to play in that one shot, Calvin. Like,
see, this is why we need the updated ship rules for Starfinder, because previously there were rules for flying where you had like everybody had their own smaller singular ship, and there was a thing that you could do where you could combine all of them. So imagine that with
dude, now we're cooking.
Just mix your Power Rangers and Sailor Moon and your Voltron together.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That I'm really looking forward to. That is going to inspire so many characters for me. After that, we were talking about some upcoming adventures with James Jacobs again. The standalone adventures, as from my understanding, future standalone adventures are going to be in a 128-page hardcover format. And we talked about 4 different ones. Started off with Claws of the Tyrant, which is a anthology, basically, with 3 different adventures in it, with low, mid, and high-level adventures that are based on, like, undead stuff in the Gravelands and Last Wall. And the middle adventure has the players working as evil characters who are working for Tar Bathon, the Whispering Tyrant. After that is Spore War, which is another 3-part adventure where the party fights against Tree Razor, who is this toxic demon lord from a swampy realm that we recently got the updated stats for in Monster Core. And apparently was created by James Jacobs as the big bad evil guy of his own home game like decades ago. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Cheers is like big time. I think that's pretty cool.
Like I was looking it up and I saw Tree Razor was introduced in the book in like 2011. So I don't know when that game was, but I think it's really cool that, something that he played in the game with has now been introduced to official lore and is now part of this book. Mm-hmm. It's sort of an elf-oriented adventure, kind of like the previous orc-oriented one, but you don't have to be an elf to be in it. It's focused on wilderness and dungeon crawling, and you're kind of playing special forces in the middle of a war scenario, where your actions will influence the nation's morale with your successes or your failures.
Interesting. Okay. Definitely, it feels a little bit like Starfall, that adventure path, which you know nothing about. But yes, who's ever... Yeah, there's a part where there's a bunch of elves doing elf things, and I was like, oh, this is kind of familiar.
Yeah, I don't know if we went into this specifically, but definitely my Pathfinder experience has always been homebrew stuff. It wasn't until pretty recently where we started doing, like, here's a thing in Galarian, and of course it's Rune Lords, which is the most iconic one as far as I know. But yeah, I don't know a ton about the setting, so I'm always excited when I hear new stuff. Another adventure is Shades of Blood, which starts at first level. It's related to vampires and vampirism, which I guess is kind of obvious from the name. But it's not a horror adventure, it's more action-oriented. It starts off with a shadowy mass that rises out of the sea to kind of blot out the sun, and the party is in just the right place to have to be the ones to deal with it.
As you always do. Hopefully there's like a crazy dude with an eye patch and like a like a bunch of stakes to be like, "Yo, come on, kids, we gotta go kill some vampires."
Yeah. And then the fourth adventure that was talked about coming in spring 2025 is Rival Academies, which was described by Landon Winkler, who is a Pathfinder developer working on the Lost Opens line. Rival Academies will feature the schools of Galorian, which I think they kind of want to cover because of how the wizard class was updated.
Mm-hmm.
There's more spells, and there's details for making a character that learned at those schools and what class they might have taken, that sort of thing. The schools are participating in the 6th school convocation, which is them gathering together to preserve knowledge and to address the effects of the world wound, which is now called the Sarkoris Scar, after the events of the adventure Wrath of the Righteous. Which I guess it went from being a wound to a scar in that adventure. I don't know the specifics, but apparently the portal that demons were coming out of was closed, but there's still demons around, so they're trying to figure out, like, what's the best way to deal with them, what's the best approach to get rid of them, to restore the land, and to consider ethics as well. And the sort of rivalry between the academies is just, like, which idea is best to do so, and, they're sort of competing in that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the battle mages are like, yeah, let's blow them all up.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I can't wait to play the jock. Like,
there was one thing that did get mentioned here. It was mentioned that there was one school that will bring up the question of what will happen with the Ruin Lords in Remastered Pathfinder. I did end up, like, fast-forwarding through part of this because I was like, I don't want to know yet. But I did hear that there is a Ruin Lord class archetype for wizards, so that's pretty cool.
Ooh, okay, cool.
And then after that, we finished off with talking about the upcoming Pathfinder board game. So Jason Bullman was up and talking about the Pathfinder Quest Board Game, a co-op fantasy adventure board game for 1 to 4 players. That works off of a custom D6, which I have not seen, but is probably cool. It's set in the Dark Moon Vale, I believe in Falcon's Hollow, which I have trouble remembering the name of because I borrowed it for my setting and changed the name, so I don't remember what the actual name was. But it's in Falcon's Hollow, which has, frankly, enough to deal with already. The players, basically you play through different adventure books that will lay out, like, enemies and objectives and challenges. You decide how to approach those challenges, and then you refer to the book for the outcome of them. So say, like, you have a chest you're trying to get into, you could either, like, pick the lock or you could smash it, and they have different outcomes where, like, picking the lock would be harder, but smashing it might destroy something inside, and then those have different narrative outcomes, I guess. And the adventures will have their own conclusions, and they can lead into other adventures that you can build a campaign from. Players will create characters. So you create a character with an ancestry, a background, a class, and feats and spells. So, like, mini Pathfinder characters.
Oh, okay. And I'm assuming that this board game probably has, like, cards or something like that. That they'll keep all the stuff together. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I would say, like, toned down. I don't know. I think toned down is the word. Streamline, because, like, I think down, a lot of people scale down where it's, like, more focused, where it's like, here's some handful of choices. If you've never played a TTRPG, like, here you go, folks. Like, you got some time on a Saturday night. Like, here you go. Like, go have some fun.
It could be more approachable as a board game, and then you have an ancestry, background, and class. Maybe a campaign in Pathfinder could spin out of that.
Yeah.
So it is coming to backer kit in spring 2025. It was meant to be fall this year, I think, but it's been delayed as they're working on producing, like, again, like the cards and the tokens and everything. So there might be a link to backer kit below where you can sign up and get alerted when it's released. And yeah, that was it for all of Paizo's GenCon news. A lot of really cool stuff coming. Very much looking forward to everything. I feel like every book here has something I want to borrow a piece of. whether it's like an archetype or deity stuff or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, also super secret tip, folks. You guys can just buy books and read them and steal parts that you like and throw away the rest of it. You guys don't need the whole. You don't need to use the whole parts of the buffalo. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes books are just cool. Like shit. Sometimes I grab stuff just for the artwork. Like.
Oh yeah. This is a bit off topic, but I got my Lancer book in the mail, and seeing the artwork like physically is so much better. But yeah, like definitely you can get books for the artwork. I think it's very inspirational when you're trying to craft something.
Yeah, and it's fun to flip through versus like scrolling through like a PDF. I know it's like honestly it's a lot harder to deal with, but it's still kind of fun to have something tactile, you know.
Yeah, I got so used to the PDF as like the more functional thing, and I think in many ways it still is. But having that physical book is, I don't know, there's something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am looking forward to so much of the stuff here. I did do a Starfinder playtest game, which I'll probably go into more details later. But so far, I like how close it is to Pathfinder, because that makes it super easy for me to just improv and yes and things. So yeah, I definitely want to see more of that. Definitely want to see more of what's coming from these books. I am kind of curious about this Pathfinder novel. If I find where to pre-order, I might put a link below, because I would like to see more Pathfinder Fiction. Well, I guess I should say I want to see Starfinder Fiction. That's kind of what I want. But yeah, no, I want to see more stuff like that. I don't know, Ramon, anything else you want to mention about all this news?
No, it's just very exciting. I think that, I don't know, this is why I like Pathfinder. It just feels fun. Mm-hmm. And like it feels like they're shaking up a lot of stuff, you know, like it just gives you a lot more ammunition as a GM and a player to just kind of like go a little wild, step out of like whatever your regular fantasy, D20 fantasy you guys are, you know, playing, and really inspirational stuff. I mean, like I probably won't pick up all this stuff, but I'm definitely excited to see all of the new things and see what parts I can put into places. Yeah, I'm cool to run all these very specific genre one-shots that we talked about.
You're right. But yeah, like to continue on with your point of them shaking things up, like they are focusing on things that aren't the typical fantasy setting, like with Tian Xia and with Mwangi Expanse earlier. They're leaning into different cultures and mythologies, and even with doing smaller things like just having an orc-focused adventure, just to sort of like change the stereotypical representation of orcs. Like, you know, obviously orcs can still choose to be evil, but some of them might not, and some of them live in a place that exists in a larger world, and they're like, hey, we should probably do something about the fact that we live in a society.
Yeah, and it would be cool to also get like maybe more of that, more adventures where it's like, you know, you play as a specific race or group or something like that, right? Like, you know, all like, you know, where the adventure where you play as a bunch of red mantis dudes, or like, you know, you know what it is? It feels like I'm kind of bringing it back to the beginning with Matt Koval here with his like Chain of Acheron campaign, where, you know, the players are all playing different things, but like they are all mercenaries first and foremost, right? So the idea that like you're either like all unified by a specific group, organization, or like race, species or whatever, can really lend into the idea that like, you know, even though we're all the same, we all are individuals in that place, so we all get to put our own little spice into stuff, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, it'll feel like a to me like an episode of like a TV show. Like, everyone's cops, but, you know, you got that the tough guy and the funny guy and, like, all that other stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever we end up doing from this, or just yoinking stuff, or just waiting to see what's on Archives of Nethys and what I can copy and paste.
All right. So again, there's probably going to be a bunch of links to different stuff below, so definitely go check all of that out. Also below, you'll find a bunch of links to different Lancer writers and creators who we've talked to over the years about all the cool stuff they are doing. So definitely go check out all of their work too. Check out the Soar RPG. Check out Untold Stories Project, where I'm at on Wednesdays, and I think we're going to be finishing the Titan City game that we started. As for us on this channel, there are gaming streams to check out. There's Alan Wake 2, there's Baldur's Gate 3, there's Armored Core 6, which was recently kicking my butt. I got to Baltius, the one that people know from the memes about how hard Baltius is, and the legends were true. My death count in the game went from like 29 to like 80 just from one episode. If that's any indication of how hard that was.
Sheesh.
Oh, but speaking of though, I finally did the boss fight in Baldur's Gate 3 that I thought I was going to do like 2 months ago. So I'm almost at the city of Baldur's Gate. Like 70 plus hours, and I haven't seen the city itself yet, but I'm almost there. I thought I was going to be there, and then I got ambushed in my sleep. So yeah, maybe next episode. But I think that's everything now. I don't know. Anything else we have to say before we head out of here?
I think that's it. All
right. Well, for all of our pathfinding and starfinding GMs and players out there, just remember to keep on winning with dice, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.